Hey everybody, so in today's video I want to discuss linear search. In a linear search we iterate through a collection one item at a time. This search can be executed on any data set and will iterate through any data type. Think of it like looking in your closet for a shirt, or in the grocery store down the aisle looking for a particular item, or maybe even in a magazine or bookstore looking for a particular magazine or book. You'll look item by item. That's exactly how a linear search works. The benefits of a linear search is that it's going to always work no matter what the items are, and it's going to work whether it's sorted or not sorted. Some of the disadvantages with the linear search is that as the numbers or data set increases, it slows down because there are more items to iterate through. A linear search is going to examine every item in the data set until it finds the item that it's looking for. If you think about a binary search, in contrast, it's much faster, but it does require the items to be sorted, wherein a linear search is flexible and the items do not have to be sorted. So let's take a look at how we would code a linear search. We'll start out by creating a function named linear search, and within it we're going to pass in one argument, which will be the array or collection that we're going to sort through, or that we're going to search through. And the second is going to be the target that we're looking for. Within this function, we want to create a for loop that's going to iterate through each item within the array. And if our iterator finds our target number, then we know that the search is complete. We can return true. If else, we'll return false. And just that simple, this is how you would create a simple linear search to iterate through to find a target number within an array. Now to test it out, let's just create a array of numbers, and the numbers are going to be 5 through 30, iterating by 5 per item or per element, and we're going to have a target number of 20 just to see if we can locate this number within the array. And if we do a simple if statement stating that if the linear search, if we find the number within the array, then we want to print to the terminal the number, which is the target number, is within the array. Else, we want to print out that the target number is not in the array. So with that, let's go ahead and run our code and see what we get. So as you can see, the terminal is returning that the number 20 is within the array. So let's just change our target number to something that's not within the array to make sure that it's working. Let's change from 20 to 50. Let's save it. And as you can see, the number 50 is not in the array. So that is how you create a simple linear search to iterate through an array of integers. So now let's say that we want to search through a list of strings that are holding a collection of names, and we want to iterate through the list to see if a particular name is within that list. So we'll start out by creating a function named linear underscore search underscore name. It's going to take in a names parameter, which is going to represent our list, and the second argument or parameter, it will take in is a target name, which is the name that we're going to be searching for. So now we want to create a for loop that's going to iterate through our collection of names. So we'll say for name in names. If the name matches the target name, then we want to return true. If it doesn't, then we want to return false. This is how you would create the linear search function. Now, in order to test this search function out, let's create a list of names named name underscore list, and let's assign it to a list of 4 names. And we want to have our target name as Jace, and as we can see, that target name is within the list. So if we create a simple if else statement running the function linear search underscore name, passing in the arguments of the name list and target name, saying that if we find it, we want to print out the name and target name being in the list. Else, we want to return that the target name is not in the list. And if we go to our terminal and run our code, we're going to see the name Jace, which was our target name, is within the list. So let's just say we want to change this name from Jace to John, and we know John is not in the list. If we go over and run our code, we'll see that the name John is not in the list. So we're seeing that our linear search is working as designed. So you can not only leverage a linear search for hard-coded names, but you can also leverage this in a more practical or real-world application by gathering a user input. So now let's create our linear function that will iterate through a list to see if the user inputted name is within the collection of lists. So we'll start out by creating a function named input underscore linear underscore search, and we'll pass in the search list and we'll also pass in the input name, which we're going to capture from the user. From here, we're going to create that for loop to say for name in search underscore list. If the name matches the input name, then we want to return true. Else, we want to return false. Now let's create our search list. And this is going to be a list of names represented by strings. Next, we want to create a variable to hold our user input name, and then we want to assign it to be equal to an input, and just ask the user, to just please enter a name. And then from here, if the input linear search is true, meaning that the name is within the list, we want to print out the name, the input name is in the list. Else, we want to return back to the user that the input name is not in the list. And with this, let's go ahead and run our code to see what we get. So the first name that we'll type in to confirm it is we'll type in Tom, and we see that we get back Tom is in the list. So now let's search for another name. Let's try Lamar, and we see that we get back Lamar is in the list. Now let's try a name that's not in the list and see what we get back. Let's type in the name Bill. And if we type in the name Bill, we see that Bill is not in the list. So there you have it, a quick example of how to use linear search in Python. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.